So we're going to end with a recorded song, one of Kevin's favorites, one of all of our favorites. Like I said before, all the time I spent with Kevin in the last couple of years, very little of it was spent talking about what was going on right now. It was being thankful for all the good days and all the memories and all the great family and all the friends and all the scenes. And man, if Kevin had one thing, it was a memory. That guy remembered granular details from life in a way that very few people I know, myself included, can pull off. And he retained them too, so I could get him talking about things before I was born, like hanging with the shepherds those early days, and he'd remember these minute little things. And I'm sitting there looking at my brother, seeing him change, and in my mind, the wheels are turning, and I'm thinking about that, and he could just transport me back to places in his life and in our life. And he would pull up these most random things, and we literally had like 3, 4, 5 hour sessions like this, and we did this, at least 6, 8 times in that 20 month or so time he was going through his tough journey. And I had to stay present. It was all I could do to get in his mode, because I was down there, in my mode. I'm losing my brother. What the hell's going on? I'm mad, and I'm angry, and I'm confused, and I'm looking at Lisa, and I'm looking at their boys, and I'm just feeling like my world's falling apart. And meanwhile, my brother's cracking up, telling me about some insane drive across Canada in the driving snow to go visit Lisa in Michigan, where her parents live, from St. Lawrence in upstate New York. They took some hell ride that no sane person would take, and it was probably a 3-6-pack drive. And I'm over there falling apart in my own way, but he's pulling me together, and he's right there. He's reliving it. And it was so cool to see, and it was a good slap in the face to me, like, hey, buck up and remember that there's been 65 years worth of amazing time, and none of us knows how long we have, right up to the day, Things can change very fast, and we learned that from Kevin, and the degree to which he just breezed through that, and helped all of us not necessarily breeze through it, but get through it, was amazing. So the reason I'm saying this, I know it's a little bit circling back to what I said earlier, but one day Kevin and I are doing one of these. We're way down memory lane in 4 different decades, 4 different time zones. We're all over the place. We're hopping from college to hockey to Deer Valley to young days to before I was born to things we did together. We were all over the place. It was so cool. It's this juggling act of personal history, just me and him out on the porch. And all of a sudden there's a stoppage in the conversation. And I'm kind of thinking about what to say next. Are we wrapping up? We going to bed? Where are we going? And apropos of nothing, he says, hey, if there's ever any kind of memorial or anything after I'm gone, and this is the only time he ever talked about this. We never discussed it. He didn't want to talk about that stuff. He goes, all I got to say is if one song is played, please let it be While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles. That was his favorite song. He had a lot of favorite songs. He had a hell of a list. He had a top 100 that could just run the jukebox, But it was crazy because it just came out of nowhere. So it stopped me in my tracks, and I just remember saying, okay, bro. And then we moved on. He was like, pulled something back up, and off we went, and we talked for a while. So when we did the memorial in Kentucky and at Deer Valley, his son Clint and I actually played it together. And that was something that was very heavy for both of us, but a beautiful thing to do in honor of our brother, and Clint sang it. And without Clint here today, I just didn't feel like I could do it justice by myself. And so we're going to listen to While My Guitar Gently Weeps right off the White Album, the Beatles' White Album, Kevin's absolute favorite. It's a heavy song. It was George Harrison talking to the Beatles about their own internal strife and their life and their history, and trying to stay the path and trying to be good friends to each other, and maybe not always pulling it off. And there's a lot you can extract from that about your own life, and I think Kevin saw all the shades, But one of the coolest things about the song, and Jan talked about Kevin's detail, like this guy read the liner notes. It was like reading the stats on the back of the baseball card. He read those album liner notes, and he was a guy who knew who produced the record or where they recorded. He knew obscure stuff about the albums he liked. But even he admitted that it took him until he was an adult guy who had become a huge fan of Eric Clapton, who was, to the end, one of Kev's favorites. Eric Clapton plays the lead guitar on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Kevin didn't know that for a long time. He even said it came as a surprise. I think he learned it in the 80s, but this is a song that came out, toward the end of the Beatles' heyday. So it was already his favorite song, and then when he found out his dude was the one playing the leads, and that was the only person to ever play a note of guitar on a Beatles album that wasn't one of the Beatles. So this is all part of why this is such a special song to Kevin, and let's crank it up on the Turtle Box right now.